Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at weather in the next 10 days. In today's video, takes us into the second half of June, going up towards the 18th of the month, so into the second half of the month. Looks like going to keep it pretty much as we've had it really through June. It's going to stay relatively cool, I think, and mixed at times, not a total washout, so very much as we've had it really since the start of May, to be honest. Relatively cool conditions, some unsettled conditions coming through at times, also drier weather, and just generally quite mixed, really. That's how it's looking this morning anyway. We'll have a look at the charts in a moment. But before going back, just say about the ads. There's links to articles on all the pages at gazweathers.com. Have a browse through widgets, any articles that you're interested in, please click through. You'll be able to go off and read the article. And thanks so much for doing that. The North Atlantic Oscillation forecast for the winter of 2015-16, next winter, was issued yesterday. So if you want to see what that was showing, have a look at it on the page that I've created for the NAO forecast. You can find the link to that in the buttons section underneath the video here on the home page. There's a area of buttons. It's the top button. Just click that and you'll be able to go off and read the North Atlantic Oscillation Winter 2015-2016 forecast. Right, let's get on with the video for today, and here's the 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts for the next week to 10 days. Got the ECMWF over on the left, and the GFS is on the right. 500 millibar centre bound speed. It's an area in the atmosphere, high pressure, low pressure, being moved around by the jet stream, running above. Blue extrapolates to low pressure, orange extrapolates to high pressure. So as we've seen through the past month or so, really, we've got a fairly strong westerly jet stream coming across the Atlantic, keeping it mixed at the very least. We've got signs of above average heights on the ECMWF, anyway, sitting to the north country, a little bit of northern blocking, not intense northern blocking, but certainly hints of northern blocking. We don't have that on the GFS, but we do still have this fairly strong jet stream coming across the Atlantic, and a bit of a trough there across central parts of Europe in 500 millibar flow. So overall, the flow is coming off the Atlantic still. There's no real sort of ridging embedding itself here within the flow, so no prolonged dry hot weather for the foreseeable future. Just generally quite mixed conditions with the flow coming off the Atlantic, but not a washout. It isn't sort of pattern that will generate a washout. It's not 2007 or 2012, not yet anyway. We could get a deterioration as we go further into the summer, but so far it's not a washout of the pattern. It's just generally quite mixed and fairly cool as well. Here's the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles. The red line here is the 30-year temperature average. We are significantly cooler than average at the moment. Of course, this is offset by the strength of the sun. So even though the upper air temperatures are, as you can see, significantly below average, if this was winter and we would say 5 degrees below average, that would be really quite cold indeed, with sort of temperatures starting to get above freezing in the middle of winter, when your upper air temperatures go sort of 5 degrees below average. But in summer, we've got the strength of the sun, so that offsets things. So even though the temperatures are significantly below average in the upper atmosphere, down on the surface, in the sun, it actually feels warm in the sun, but if you go into the shade or you're in the wind, it does feel quite chilly. So that's why we've got this sort of unusual mix at the moment. I'm sure you've noticed it over the past few days, that it feels quite hot in the sun if you're directly in the sunshine, but if you're out of the sun, or if you're in a spot where it's quite windy, then it does feel chilly. Sort of a strange feeling type weather pattern. Anyway, over the next week, or over the coming week, we're going to see the temperatures lifting up a little bit as we go up towards the end of the week and into the weekend, go a bit above average for a day or two. But then we quickly drop back towards the 30-year average. And overall, there's no sign here of a significant deviation from the seasonal average, to be honest. We're somewhere around normal, maybe a little bit above at times, or a little bit below at times, but no great deviation from the 30-year temperature average. This push-up in the temperatures at the end of the week and into the weekend, very brief push-up, is associated with these rainfall spikes down here. So I think we will bring up some low pressure from the south at the end of the week. Very difficult to say how impactful that low pressure will be, but it could turn it quite wet for a time down across southern parts of the country. We've got to look at the detail on that, and it is chopping and changing. It's been a bit of a nightmare because I've been trying to do updates for Le Mans in France and also for the Download Festival. Both of those events are happening at the end of the week and over the weekend. And it's been chopping and changing quite a lot, so I could have done without this, but I think we are coming up to a reasonably unsettled period at the end of the week and into the weekend. As we go beyond that, well, we keep precipitation spikes coming through at fairly regular intervals. You can see they are there on the bottom of the chart, but it's not a washout of the period. As I say, we're not in a 2007 or 2012 sort of deluge type summer pattern. It's just generally fairly mixed, fairly unsettled, but with drier spells coming through quite regularly as well. The temperature anomaly for the coming week is coming out cooler than average from the 8th to the 16th of June. That has been the case for quite a prolonged period now, going back into May. We've had these cooler than average anomalies here across not just British Isles, but most of northern, central and western Europe as well. The warmth is down in the east and the southeast. I mean, you very often see that, as I say in the videos, very often the weather is always looking for an equilibrium, it's always looking for a balancing act, trying to balance itself out. So if one place is cool, another place is going to be very warm. And in the case of Europe, if the north and the west of Europe is very warm, is very cool, sorry, more often than not, the southeast of Europe will be very warm, and it's often the other way around, of course, that if the southeast is cool, then the northwest will be quite warm. So we're in the cool anomaly for the coming week, as have been for several weeks now. The southeast of Europe is in the warm anomaly. Rainfall anomalies are coming out very close to average, maybe being a little bit above average across parts of northern England, but again, overall not deviating too far from the average with the rainfall. So here's the GFS chart for Friday. Low pressure coming up from the south. This will bring the risk of thundery rain across southern parts of the country sometime around Thursday, Friday or Saturday, but it's very difficult to pin down the exact detail on it. But towards the end of the week and into the weekend anyway, it's turning quite unsettled in the south, particularly with some quite heavy rain. Going into weekend, that low pressure goes off into the North Sea, pulls in this very cool northerly wind potentially, and there could still be showers along with spells of rain in the east, and that takes us through into Sunday as well. Start of next week, 168 hours away, a week away, finds a bit of a ridge trying to build in from the Atlantic. Not sure how long that lasts, because, as I say, we've still got this jet stream coming across the Atlantic, but it's reasonably strong, so any ridge is going to get flattened off, and that is, I think, what the GFS is seeing. But as we go through to day 10, Thursday the 18th, we do have a little bit of ridging there across the south. That could be quite nice, but overall, I think we're still in this sort of flat westerly flow. So whilst it could warm up perhaps a few days around the middle of next week, and this is a long way off, of course, it's day 8, 9, 10. Whilst it could warm up a little bit in the south under this ridge of high pressure, I think this could get flattened off fairly quickly. The ECWF shows low pressure again coming up from the south at the end of the week, turning things probably quite wet across parts of England and Wales, and particularly down in the south and southeast. The driest weather for this will probably be in the north and the northwest, actually, so that could be a place to go to Scotland if you don't like the rain. As you go through to Sunday, the low pressure is going off to the east. We're trying to build a little bit of a ridge in from the Atlantic, so that settles things down for a time early next week. This is the Monday, a week away, Monday the 15th of June. And the high pressure is trying to ridge in then, but it quite quickly gets swamped as low pressure starts to come back in off the Atlantic. So we end up by day 10 actually quite unsettled for Thursday the 18th of June, with low pressure around the country. And then the GEM, again, the low pressure coming up from the south at the end of the week and into next weekend. The north stays driest, and it sort of stays unsettled briefly into the start of next week as well, before by day 10 we perhaps try to build a bit of a ridge in off the Atlantic. So you can see that it's staying very similar to how we've had it since May, really, which is for conditions to be quite mixed, quite unsettled at times, but not a washout, not a disaster pattern. There will be significantly dry interludes in between these unsettled periods, and the temperature's sort of staying quite modest as well, so no real change yet. We are neither going into a very prolonged warm dry pattern, nor are we going into a deluge of a pattern, just keeping it very much as we've had it for the time being. That's it for now then, thanks for watching.